I'm Renee Richard, host of Roots of Faith. Today I'm in the heart of Baton Rouge, really at the corner of Government Street and Marquette, visiting Our Lady of Mercy Parish. And this parish had its beginnings in World War II. This area was part of Sacred Heart Parish, which had already been established. And Sacred Heart ran from Main Street and it ran all the way to the Amite River. And because of gasoline rationing and tire rationing that was going on during the war, people couldn't get to Mass. And so a mission was founded, and it was named the Mother of Mercy Mission when it was founded in 1943 in this area. So it's never left this area. The very first church was actually an old cabaret that was part of the Goodwood Plantation, and because of its proximity to what was the little airport where Independence Park is, the war wouldn't sanction nightclubs being that close to airports. So that became the first church. And then from there, because of the war, after the war, in the 1947 or that time frame, the parish acquired the old GI Chapel at Ryan Airport, the now Baton Rouge Airport, and had it disassembled, brought to this site, and that became the second church here at Mercy. So when it became officially a parish in 1947, the city of Baton Rouge, it was named then, they kept the Mother of Mercy, but it was dedicated to Our Lady, so it became Our Lady of Mercy, and that's how the title came about. And the Catholics of Baton Rouge were so excited that this was the first parish to be named after the Blessed Mother that they gave the parish the statue of Fatima that you might see over my shoulder that's here in the garden. So join us as we explore this wonderful 60-year-old history of Our Lady of Mercy. I have as my guest today Father Cleo Milano, pastor here at Our Lady of Mercy, and thank you for being on the show, Father Cleo.
It's a great joy, Renee. Welcome to beautiful Our Lady of Mercy.
It's beautiful, no doubt about it. It's also the parish I grew up in, my whole childhood to the time I was married. But how long have you been here?
I just began my 7th year as pastor here. And the beautiful thing about being at Our Lady of Mercy is that there's a lot of responsibility that follows some of the great giants who were the pastors here before, beginning with Monsignor Mariano, of course, Monsignor Fry, then Father Mike Maroney, and Father Miles Walsh. So that is quite a group to try to keep up with. So it's an honor and a privilege, but obviously the pastor of Mercy is a tremendous responsibility as well.
It is, and one of the things, this parish is so centrally located within the city, and you have a lot to take care of in terms of like mass schedules, because you provide that for the community, like the working community. Y'all have more masses here than a lot of the other parishes, correct?
I think the beautiful thing about Our Lady of Mercy, of course, is that we like to call ourselves the Pearl of Mid-City. And, we're so centrally located to everything. And that's what makes Our Lady of Mercy also really like a shrine, because people come from everywhere for Mass and confessions here. They know it's always going to be available. There are 2 Masses every day and confessions before every Mass. And so, people in town like to just zip in and zip out because it's easy in and easy out, and even people coming from the country. So many people, either come to the mall or coming to the doctors, and they figure, well, let's go by Mercy and we can attend Mass. So,
or have a short visit even.
Absolutely. With the beautiful Adoration Chapel, there's always a holy place to be with the Lord here.
That is. Tell us a little bit, how many families, how big is this parish, and the demographics of it? Is it young, older, everything?
Well, I think, are in the midst of transition because this part of town, Mid-City, is really coming to life.
It is.
And we are experiencing a renaissance. So, many of the houses that have been up for sale have been bought by all these young families with all these young kids. And so it's a great joy on Sunday to hear all those babies and to see all those young children running around. And because that is the life and the future of Our Lady of Mercy. Awesome. Mercy has had an incredible history. It has had an incredible, dedicated group of laymen and laywomen who made Mercy what it is and has been for the past 60 years. And I think that what we're seeing is Mercy is preparing itself to be that same thing for the next 60 years.
That's awesome. Do you know the capacity of the church? When you're talking about these families growing, are y'all handling the crowds
Well,
with the masses?
it's always a beautiful thing to see a church that is full on Sunday. And I think when people visit, I know that many times when friends have come from Europe or whatever, they can hardly believe the number of people in church on Sunday,
Awesome.
So that is just such a powerful witness. And I think it's so important why we all go to Mass on Sunday, because it is all so much bigger than ourselves, and that we don't just go to get something, but we come to give something. And our public witness here in church says to the whole world, Jesus is the Lord of my life. That's who we try to follow. His are the values that we want to instill in ourselves and our children. And I think that's the beautiful mission of the church. And that's the power of the witness of our being at Mass on Sunday.
Standing in this beautiful church, which was dedicated in 1975, my lifetime here, that was the year I graduated high school, so I did not get to experience this as much, growing up. But it was built in 1975 as the first permanent church for Our Lady of Mercy. And this building has so much symbolism and so much history, and just on the artifacts and what's found in it. One of the things when I was preparing for this that really struck me too, the crucifix that's hanging on the wall here behind the altar was actually brought here much earlier. It was crafted in a small town outside of Munich that does the Passion plays. The real-life Passion plays.
Yes.
And so it was sculptured by a German sculptor, and it was brought here in preparation for whenever they built the permanent church.
Well,
and that was fascinating.
it is such a magnificent
beautiful.
Crucifix, and actually we have included in the new gym the shape of that crucifix, so that there is a reminder that when we are in the gym at a sporting event, that even there we are reminded of God's house and the beautiful crucifix that hangs on the back wall of the sanctuary.
It is
What
beautiful.
I love about this church is that it is bright and full of light, and that one comes into this church and you would never think that this church, Renee, is 50 years old. Because I think it is such an awesome combination of both the old and the
It
new.
is that.
And there is such a feeling of being in a holy place when you are in this church. It is modern, and at the same time, it is very traditional. The beautiful mosaics of the Stations of the Cross, these magnificent statues from Italy, everything is absolutely stunning in this church.
It is. And the stained glass. Stained glass is so different here. It was done by the Paul Dufour studio here in town, but it's modern in the sense that, and that was one of the things studying this, in your older churches they had pictures, and the reason for that is you might have parishioners that were illiterate, or these older 100-year-old, 200-year-old churches, like where your roots come from.
Absolutely.
So when you get in here, though, in today's world, they don't need to depict that in the stained glass. So they have more symbolism, within it. And the windows here are absolutely beautiful.
They are magnificent.
Except for...
Paul was a genius, and
yes,
God
and
really gave him a great gift.
I don't mean except for in the beauty sense. The windows that are in the Marian Chapel, which is when you're facing the altar to the left of the altar where the statue of Mary is, those have more realism in certain little panels because it depicts the different decades of
Yes,
the
the
Rosary,
mysteries of the
the mysteries of the
Rosary,
Rosary, time that the church was built. It doesn't include one of the decades, but it has in picture form, and that's realism in those little pictures, which is beautiful too, that you don't always see. So much of this was crafted in other places like Italy. The mosaics were, and I didn't realize that the mosaic of the Blessed Mother, you think of Our Lady of Mercy, I think of the Blessed Mother when I'm in here, but it's Our Lady of Perpetual Help, which is the patron saint for Louisiana. And I didn't realize that until I started studying, some of the architecture and the different things that are different here. As a parishioner, or even as a guest visiting this church, being at Mass, we don't have the opportunity individually to go up on the altar and look at certain things like the artwork on the tabernacle. The tabernacle is really unique. It was designed by Dufour as well, and it's bronze castings of four of the archangels.
Yes.
And so there's one to the north, south, east, and west to protect our Lord's presence. And I never, you can't really see what's there.
Yes.
So to let you folks know, That's
Well,
part of
I
what we want to
definitely
do.
encourage anyone to come. Our sacristan, Fred Gwynn, gives an awesome tour of Our Lady of
Awesome. Oh,
Mercy
good.
Church.
I didn't
And
know
he
that.
does tours throughout the months for anyone interested. And it is an incredible journey. He calls it Behind the Veil. And so it's a great tour of the church and its history and all of those wonderful little details that at first glance one might
You
miss.
might miss. It's so true. And I mean, there's enough here that we could do 2 shows on it. So I'm glad to know about the tours, because so much of that, gets lost in what's being, when you're just in here for Mass, you're not paying attention
Absolutely.
to
You can call the
what's
church
around.
office at any time and find out when Fred Gwynn is giving his next tour, and you can come on and join us. It'd be awesome.
I want to do it just to learn more about what's
Absolutely.
here. So. We were talking about this beautiful church. I hear the bells going outside too in the bell tower, and I was fascinated to learn that the original bell was from a locomotive, and it's actually out in the garden outside. And so, speaking of the garden, let's talk a little bit maybe about the whole physical plant of what's here on the grounds of Our Lady of Mercy complex. In the 1940s, when this land was acquired here on Marquette Street, the initial donation or purchase was for about 6 acres. And of course, it does have a football field for the
Yes,
school in the
indeed.
back. But over the years, I know y'all have expanded, because I used to play with the kids from the different houses that now have schools built on that. And the nuns had a convent at one time across the street, and the rectory. So besides the church here, adjacent to us, I know we have the parish hall. Correct?
Yes, the beautiful parish hall, all the offices for, the running of the parish and everything that needs to take place administratively
That's it.
are here. We have a great little coffee shop, which has, of course, a beautiful view of the prayer garden
Okay.
and the fountain and the Blessed Mother statue in the prayer garden, which on Sundays is awesome, as all the families and kids get their donuts and coffee
y'all
after
still do
Mass.
donuts and coffee? Okay,
Absolutely.
great.
It's really popular.
Well, the donut shop used to be 2 doors down on Government Street, so they would keep them flowing. Both churches that I grew up, the old gym and at this one. And that was always the bride's room too. When I got married here, that's where we dressed, in that beautiful room. As a matter of fact, just a note off the subject, but my everybody's favorite picture from my wedding is a silhouette of my mother and I looking out over the fountains and the garden.
beautiful.
And I have to laugh because she was chewing me out because the maid of honor got caught by a train and wasn't here, and it was time to go in. But it's a gorgeous picture, the silhouette
Sure.
with that beautiful fountain. So the fountain that's outside has the Stations of the Cross in the garden. Is that what the
Yes, the Stations of the Cross that one
that
can
you could
meditate
do?
and pray while you listen to the beautiful sound of the cascading water in the fountain. Then, of course, at one time the Adoration Chapel was in church.
It was,
But
yeah.
a wonderful, family donated a beautiful Adoration Chapel in the garden. And so it's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is truly a perpetual Eucharistic Adoration Chapel. And, people drop by all during the hours of the day and night to spend quiet time before the Lord in the Blessed Sacrament.
And I will tell you, having myself come to this Adoration Chapel, partly because of the location of it and partly because my mother does it and I was her relief sometimes also. But the fact that that water is there, because you can actually hear that subtly when you're in there, it's very awesome both to go in and to leave with those fountains going and to hear that, the soothingness of that when you're there.
Absolutely.
But not to regress. That was one thing we didn't talk about in this church when it was designed. I believe, I'm not 100% sure on this, folks, but y'all were the first, if not one of the first, to have an Adoration Chapel when they started.
Yes, I think Our Lady of
believe.
Mercy, we're almost 40 years, and I don't know of any parish in the country that actually has a perpetual Adoration Chapel that is going on as long as Our Lady of Mercy. Certainly in convents and monasteries, they've been doing it for
years.
those years, but for a parish to have had perpetual Eucharistic adoration. And I think that is why people feel like Our Lady of Mercy, is such a sanctuary of holiness, because one feels God's presence here, and that is in no small part due to the fact that mercy is first and foremost a place of prayer.
And it is.
And One feels that when one is here. You feel like you are truly in a sacred, holy place.
It's true, and your doors are open. So, I know I've stopped in before. And I mean, even as we tape this, there are people in here praying.
Absolutely.
So it is something that's always ongoing. And the original Adoration Chapel, though, was if you're facing the altar, to the right of where the tabernacle is, and is it reliquaries that are now in that
yes.
space,
Yes.
which I was not aware of until I arrived here today, because at Mass, I know it as the old Adoration Chapel.
When Father Paul Yee was here at Our Lady of Mercy as the associate with Father Miles Walsh, Father Yee has a beautiful devotion to the relics of the saints, and so during his time here, he asked permission for Father Miles if he could put that in the little niche where the monstrance had been before for the Adoration Chapel inside church. And so Father Miles said, sure, go ahead. And it's beautiful to see people go up to all of the reliquary there and, place their hands on the glass and offer their prayer, asking the intercession of the saints. So Mercy is such a Catholic space. It's such a Catholic place with all the richness of our devotions and liturgy. And so, the sacramental life of the church that's celebrated here, both in Eucharist and reconciliation. So, it's a joyful, alive place to be, and the Spirit of God is certainly moving very strong in the lives of people, because I think that's one of the joys of being a priest, is that one gets to witness really how God moves so powerfully in the life of people, calling and drawing them. Jesus says to all of us, I wait for you. And I think that's what he's doing in that Adoration Chapel. He's waiting for us to come to him, to give him our heart. We're also very excited about what we're about to do right across from the Adoration Chapel in the back. We're going to add a columbarium to Our Lady of Mercy, and a columbarium is a sacred place for cremains. So we're going to do a beautiful garden of peace, and we're in pre-construction right now, trying to get people interested. But we have a beautiful garden planned, and that is going to begin hopefully very soon.
I know. I was going to ask you about new construction. I knew of that only because my sisters call me, and the neighbors that we grew up with in the neighborhood call me, I want to be by together. So that I said, what, in the afterlife we can still play kickball? But so I knew well about it because I've been contacted, hey, join us over,
Well,
in
we
the
are very
columbarium.
excited
So I knew
about-
that was on your horizon, and we were going to get to that. So that will be part of the physical plant. That's where the parking lot is.
Yes, it will take
Okay.
up a small section of the parking lot, and of course that grassy area up to the fence on Government Street.
Awesome.
So it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful garden of peace, and where one can go to pray and just to visit where the cremains of loved ones are stationed.
Talking about the physical plant, I mean, with you or with anybody, this place has always had something going on. And you're talking about that's the new construction, but again, in the physical plant here, something just opened recently. I got to see
Absolutely.
it
We're very
last
excited.
Week,
look-
weekend before last, and that is the construction of a new gym.
Of the new gym, which for 50 years,
Yes.
families at
Since my
Mercy, since
generation,
your
yep.
time here and before,
Before.
people have been wanting a new gym, because what was our gym, what we used to call now the old gym, was the church before
For my
Our Lady of
generation,
Mercy,
for me.
this beautiful structure was built. So there were lots of people for a long time who got married basically under the basketball goal.
Yes, but it's beautiful, and so
The new gym
it's-
is magnificent. Seats about
Tell us a little bit about
550
it.
people. Part of the wonderful construction and the architectural design is that when you walk into the lobby, not only is there a beautiful image of the Blessed Mother on the floor in stone, but also, the lobby of the gym is meant to mirror the bell tower, which we
Okay.
talked about a little earlier. So that from one end of Marquette unto the other, we're like all embraced with what really reminds us and always brings us back to the church.
That's what it reminds me of. I mean, driving down, dropping off my granddaughter every morning, the outside of it was beautiful. And it was familiar. You just placed in my mind why it was so familiar. But it really is a beautiful gym. And so I'm excited for that newest addition to the campus. So let's talk a little bit about the other things. The PAC Center, I know, is well used right across the
The PAC
street.
Center, yes, Father Mike had the great vision when he was pastor, Mike Maroney, had the great vision that Mercy needed a place for parishioners to meet and to gather. And so one of the wonderful things he did, I don't even know what Mercy did without it. And I don't know what we do without it today.
No.
Because almost every night that building is completely filled with groups of people meeting and praying and organizing and having some sort of event or benefit. I mean, Mercy's always been so very generous. So there are many groups that come to use our facilities as well. The Feast of St. Vincent de Paul, the whole diocese gathers here for Mass with the bishop and the receptions in the PAC. And in fact, I think we probably, as a parish, have the largest church facility for hosting a large group of people. So we do the St. Vincent de Paul Count Your Blessings supper. Magnificat often holds their banquets here. So, there is a lot of activity at Mercy all the time. It never stops, morning, noon, and night.
That's true. And then, so the PAC Center's there. I know growing up, like I said, there were houses on the other side of Marquette from where the church is, but that's now a school, and that's relatively new. That was built during your administration?
Yes. The new school, we built a new lower school because of the many new families moving in, to this part of town. I mean, you take Tara, you take Goodwood, you take Bocage. I mean, all of those neighborhoods have continued to just be renewed, and new construction and new houses. And
they're thriving.
This part of town is considered to be, the number one part of town that people want to live in because everything is easy to get to. Everything from church to the mall, to the hospital, to the doctors, to shopping. So, Baton Rouge, people don't want to spend all that time in traffic. This is a great part of town to live in. And, Mercy is a church family.
It is.
And I think the beautiful thing about our campus here is that we feel like from the cradle to the grave, there's something for everyone here.
And we'll get into that in just a minute when we talk about maybe the ministries. But the school that's across the street is for what grades?
We added a 3-year-old program, which we did not have before. We call it the Little Saints program, and there's nothing cuter than to see those little 3-year-olds in their Mercy uniforms.
I had a granddaughter. Now in kindergarten.
Then you know the feeling. You know the feeling. And so then, of course, everything from 3-year-olds through 2nd grade is on that side of the street, and 3rd grade through 8th grade is on the other side of the street.
How many students about? How big is the
We
school?
are about 980 students.
That's awesome.
And, we have 4 to 5 sections in each class grade. And that also includes, of course, the class we have where we have the diocese for special education from the diocese. They are with us as well. So it's a great fit.
I told you we'd come back to it. So now, if we could, what makes Mercy different? What kind of ministries are here? And tell us a little bit about what goes on in the parish.
Well,
day by day, some of which I do.
Well, I think there are an awful lot of people involved in an awful lot of activities. So, we have all the ministries, obviously, that most parishes have, but some of those that are particularly, exciting, and our St. Vincent de Paul ministry is incredible. The Mercy parishioners support the works of St. Vincent de Paul, our conference here in our parish, really with great hearts and great generosity. So we reach out to a lot of poor and a lot of needy in our area. And so I have a great St. Vincent de Paul. One of the things that's been very exciting for our parish is the ACTS program, bringing the ACTS retreats for men and for women. That has been an awesome spiritual renewal and awakening in our parish, and it has set people on fire, for the Lord and for the church. So that is one of the things that's been extremely, extremely gratifying for me. Between those meetings and preparations for the retreats, the team that's chosen meets and prays for 13 weeks prior to every retreat.
Wow.
So that's another one of those activities taking place.
Over there.
The scouting program is really good here. Some dedicated, scoutmasters, men and women who are devoted to the scouting program. The the American Heritage girls that are here as well. We have that. And so, there's a lot of activity going on all the time.
Y'all do a big fair as well, don't y'all? I mean, like all encompassing.
My goodness, our fair is fantastic.
That is, parish-wide ministry of just executing that and getting it done, and you're known for that. I mean, I've read about the Mercy fairs.
Well, our fair is, if I must say so myself, our fair is pretty hard to beat. And so last year, with construction going on in the new gym, we were not able to use the football field for the fair.
Oh, my goodness.
So we had to move it at the last minute to the parking lots here around church.
Really?
But this year, we will be back on the football field. And of course, there is a new parking lot at the new gym.
Oh,
so we're going to have the best of both worlds. We'll have some concrete, and we're going to have the beautiful football field as well. Hopefully, we're praying already that the Lord is going to send us some beautiful weather for that weekend.
That's true. Now, on Tuesday nights, you have a novena every Tuesday night, and I know that over time has just been phenomenal, the turnout.
Well, we have a beautiful novena, of course, which has been traditional here from the very beginning. I mean, when I was here 30 years ago as the associate, the novena on Tuesday night to the Mother Perpetual Help was always and continuous beautiful time of prayer, particularly for the sick, And so one of the things we've done as well is the first Tuesday of every month, before novena and benediction begins, we offer the anointing of the sick to anyone who desires to receive the sacrament, or who's either preparing for surgery or recovering from it, or, experiencing either grief or depression or, treatments, cancer treatments, any of those things, any healing that someone feels they need in body, mind, or spirit, we certainly invite them to come to receive the anointing.
You just hear about these things. Oh no, I have to be at Our Lady of Mercy on Tuesday night. I mean, and then with my family out here, it's like, man, the doors are busted. And there's also Divine Mercy.
One of the beautiful things, which I have to give that credit to Father Miles Walsh. He really brought the Divine Mercy Novena to Baton Rouge, to our diocese. Our Lady of Mercy, when he was pastor, was the first place to promote it. And the beautiful thing is that now it's spread to so many parishes in our diocese. But I have to give him that credit, and it's just a beautiful time of prayer. The sung Divine Mercy is just awesome, and, greeting the people as they leave after. I mean, people just filled with joy and peace, that the world cannot give.
That's it. Well, thank you. We could do another show on what's happening at Mercy.
Well, Renee,
but thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for the invitation to ask me to speak about the awesome things at Mercy. I have to, kind of let everyone know that as a graduate of Our Lady of Mercy, you were our distinguished graduate this year. We just want you to know how proud we are of you, to claim you, as Mercy's very own. And God bless you, and keep up the great work for our diocese and Catholic TV.
That's it. My heart is here, no matter where I am.
Awesome. We love it.